We're recording.
Welcome everybody to another exciting presentation from the Nouveau team. Today we've got a number of you on board and we're going to look at what is your purpose. And to introduce this, I've written a teaching and invocation of divine purpose. So I'll read this and then let's get to it and have some questions and try and expand on knowingness on this subject of what our purpose is here on earth at this time. Teaching an invocation of divine purpose. I take my seat in my heart and I take myself to my fetus in my mother's womb, my place of interconnectivity to all that is, was and will be, my greatest connection to source and the divine being that is me. For here is where my power and potency lies. That time before the forgetting of the birth canal and the imprinting of fraud time and the reality rules of manifestation. This is my divine blueprint that carries my eternal wisdom and purpose, the very reason for my manifestation in this time-space equation. And it is my birthright and legacy to connect to this fetus energy and know my purpose before the imprinting of the system of domination and control's choices enforced upon me through the global narrative in my unawareness. I now make the sovereign choice to create my own narrative for myself that drowns out and outcreates this global narrative incursion into my reality. I say these sacred words built from heart space wisdom of lifetime to lifetime knowingness and awareness. I am a sovereign being claiming all of my experiences this lifetime and all lifetimes that give me my own sacred point of view. I need no other source other than my sacred self-expression. For great mystery and great spirit works through me and with me. I do not require global narratives messages to decide my purpose for me based on their need to harvest my energy to support their facade. Global narrative, your voice and messages become ever more desperate in an attempt to distract me from following my own path of inner healing. And I see through your pretend stance of being the giver and knower of all truths. You can no longer make choices for my future or influence my future. I harness my own narrative of my own truth to connect to my rites of passage that speak louder to me than the global narrative. So I look deep into my soul. I claim my birthright of speech from my heart, of song, of voice, of prayers, of dance, of poetry, of writing, creative expression, any creative expression I choose, which helps me define my purpose on earth at this time. For it is in the expression of creativity that we will find our purpose. For creativity takes us out of the monkey mind of chatter and distraction and allows space for our authentic selves to shine. For if I allow that, in that space of sacred self, I will find my reason for being. There are those who make the choice never to ask the question of their purpose, or they ignore the synchronicities and messages their patient souls flag up time and time again. They might never choose to know their purpose this lifetime, or they have unwittingly handed over their choice of a future to the system or to the self-imposed programs that subtly divert them away from true source connection to their purpose. We are not here to decide on another's purpose, for it is in their own inner work of self-mastery that purpose will uncover itself. Celestial teachers are often asked the question from those who are not recognizing that the discovery of their own potent presence will beg a path or paths to be created and co-created with their higher selves, Earth Mother, guides, guardians, angels, and ancestors. The potent present requires an outlet and outcome of self. A path that was created by our ancestors, laid and mapped out for us. For we laid that path ourselves. And whether we choose to follow that this lifetime and lay the foundation for paths for our future selves depends very much on how we connect to our purpose. We start many paths in life through distraction and disharmony that lead us nowhere. And it is in the full awareness of this that those self-illuminated masters bring harmony to distortions and call out the distractions so they may be intimate with their own divine purpose that becomes exposed as everything not required for their journey falls away. We uncover purpose through self-illumination, self-mastery, recognizing our unlimited potential, letting go of expectations. We are all here to dream the great dream of peace in a void of infinite potential. But how we choose to engage our frequency of life force remains our own sovereign choice. There are many ways on our journey of self-discovery to find our purpose. It's not always an aha moment. Sometimes it's trial and error. What flows, what doesn't. But the key to purpose is passion. What do you feel is your magical quest this lifetime? Focus on that. What's missing in your life that if you engaged it would bring you the joy, flow, harmony, peace that you seek and that you truly are. From that, you will uncover the exquisite magic that is you. Aho.
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 Aho. Always so beautiful. Thanks.
Thank
That's
you.
Very nice. That's very nice indeed.
Thank you. So I wonder.
She just rustled that up the other day, just for our Zoom here. Amazing.
Say that again, Martina.
I said you just rustled that up for our Zoom the other day, isn't it? Specific.
Yeah, I just did that this afternoon because I did sit down and think about how I uncovered my purpose, other than obviously asking Andrew. And I realised it in the things I was doing out of passion. So really, when I had a session with Andrew, he confirmed it. But part of me, I already knew in my heart what my purpose was. And I do appreciate that not everybody does. And I do appreciate that there's probably some people who come in with a purpose that to me doesn't look at all spiritual. It's interesting because I asked Clive, my partner, what his purpose was, and he said to play golf. So I mean,
I like it.
It
like
really
that.
doesn't matter because I think some people just have a lifetime out. Some people's souls just want a lifetime out, and they're not going to do anything overtly spiritual this lifetime. So yes, for me, and probably maybe for you, Martina, we're just discovering it earlier, just talking about it earlier. It was like an unfolding had happened for us to discover our path. Anybody like to share if they know their life's purpose, know what they think it is, how they came across it?
You know what?
Ask Andrew what it is.
You know, Laura, I think that some of us are just a little bit more aware of things ahead of time than some others are. You know, there's some people I look at. I mean, if I'd have looked at myself maybe 15 years ago, I would never have seen this man as a potential. You know, and I think some people. I think your purpose can change. Of course, you know, your purpose can change. Not saying that I do think I do know my purpose. I do, and I have had premonitions of it. But I think that people can, you know, I think that we're kind of ahead of the game here a little bit, some of us, you know.
So yeah, and I agree with all of that. What you and Laura said, you know, it's really purpose for me. I always say very simply, are you breathing? You're on purpose, you know, because you've just. Let's do something. I wanna just because we're talking about purpose, and when we talk about purpose, I'd also like to add mission. Okay, because we can't really talk about purpose without the mission. So let's just do something for a moment. Close your eyes for a moment and just drop all the barriers, what purpose is, what is not purpose for you, what it's been, what it will be, and all of that. Just let go of all those barriers of expectation, projection, decisions, and judgment. And then imagine an initial cosmic sphere of consciousness dividing into two perfectly equalized and synchronized copies of each other for the purpose of getting to know itself. So these are both waves now. Got one sphere, another sphere. And they are opposite, and they keep on splitting more and more and more and more, like a cell division. So think of the one sphere as your purpose, as in P, as in positive energy, as in masculine, and think of the other one as your mission, as your madre. The other one is padre, this one is madre, as a negative energy in this universe. And all we are doing in any lifetime, we are seeking equilibrium between that sphere and the other sphere, between the masculine and the feminine. So both purpose and mission is a beautiful dance, a co-creation of positive and negative, of male and female, of yang and yin, different perspectives and directions of contrasting polarities that can create realities once understood as a mirror of reflection. And then just open your eyes up. And this is really how I started looking into it. I started looking into male and female, and then yin and yang, and applied that to the wheel of life, if you wish. And then just eradicated all the programming that didn't allow me to have that flow dance equilibrium. And I keep doing that because, as Matty said, you know, and Laura, we just keep on changing and evolving and coming more and more into equilibrium. So the purpose for me is bringing the purpose and the mission into equilibrium, whatever that takes. And that's what we're going to explore today.
That's beautiful, Martina. I could actually see, as she was doing that, I've got all the visualizations. I could see into your journey as well, and the need for balance for yourself was massive. Massive. I was born with that balance. It was my journey was something very different. My journey's been more of a journey of faith, really.
Good.
And also out creating the programs that try and run us and distract us.
Oh, that's continuous. Never stops, never ends.
Yeah.
For me.
It is a never-ending process to reevaluate.
Andrew said it's a case of making those programs work for you. It's very similar to what Martina was just saying, you know, breaking down those barriers, working out those programs. And that is a part of the process. I'm interested, Laura, what is your purpose?
Again, as we were saying, it's almost ever changing, but it's plateaued a little bit now. So I started out with working on the lays. So I would do dowsing, go to the ley lines. They get hijacked at times by the road. So I was trying to reconnect them, if you like, work on sacred sites, expand the bubble of energy at sacred sites, and take my medicine wheel. So in the beginning of my journey, I thought that's it. That's my purpose. I found my purpose. I love walking. I love working with the lands and into co-creating with the sacred sites and the energy there. And then it started to expand, and obviously I started to do the courses, not just with Andrew, but other courses. I'm always on a quest to learn. And I'd like to step more. I feel my purpose now more is to share this knowledge, whether it's in, you know, a teacher role, and also, you know, to be the celestial peacemaker and peacekeeper, as I wrote in my hero's journey at the very, very first session that we did. So there might be more purposes, added to my list. But at the moment, yes, that's how it is. But it is ever evolving. I think you can choose again as well.
In your opening, Laura, you one sentence you came about which was kind of letting go of expectations. Now, is that when you feel that you should be changed, or you come across where you think you'd be changing your purpose? Is that why you came up with those words? I just kind of wrote it down as I didn't quite understand what you were meaning by it.
Oh, I'd love to chime in here. Can I chime in here, Laura?
Yes, go on, Matthew.
Okay, so Andrew's main teaching about expectations is that expectations create limitations. And it sounds so simple, but when you apply it to your life over and over again, you realize that the things that you make up in your mind, when you expect something, you limit it to that. And so the idea is that when we have inspiration, we make creation, but we don't expect anything from it. We don't define it in its completion or try to look at what it's going to be like. We just create that energy and know that something will be created by it. And that gives you the infinite ability to create infinitely, rather than saying, I want this, 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 and this, and this. And when you do that, you may, through your actions, create motions towards that outcome. But what you do is limit it by your iron fist of what it is that you want. Therefore, you're limited by that. And that's only, as much as you can think about. There's more out there for the universe than you can think about cognitively. I think that's about right.
Yeah, I think you let go of expectations and you engage trust. And
then the best things can happen, more than you can even possibly imagine, because you're limited by your imagination.
So to possibly say, I'm a keen golfer, I'm not a particularly good golfer, but the expectations might be that I'm going to go out and win this tournament. But I shouldn't really be thinking about that. I should just be enjoying my next shot and just being in the moment. Would
each and every one, each and every shot, you should be, this could be the best shot of my life. Even if you just strike one ball and it's just miracle ball, and the whole tournament, even if you do disastrously, but you absolutely hit that one ball, and in your heart, look at that, that's, expectations.
Can you be my caddy and coach, Matty?
I'm expensive.
Also, I would say, just chiming in here, that it takes your energy to the future rather than being in your present self now, because expectation is a future action, isn't it? I mean, you can deal with that in another way. You could send out your precognitive workforce, Norman, to the golf course.
Do ceremony, send healing energy to yourself before you do it. Imagine yourself striking a certain shot, and then at that time lining up and saying, I hereby call on that perfect shot that I sent to myself. Things like that. That's when the mystical happens.
Martina's going to have another view on expectations, which I'd like to hear.
No. It's all in line with what you guys are saying. You're saying all the right things here, and I like what you just said. You can do treatments to your future self for winning a tournament if you wish, and then you still got to detach yourself from the outcome. Okay.
Exactly.
And that's the main thing. So that detachment from the outcome is what bites you, because that's where you actually start limiting yourself, because any manifestation is never about the how. How it's going to happen, that's what you have to allow the magic and the universal entanglements to come in and show you. And very often it's usually much better than you can ever perceive and think of.
You may make the worst shot of your life, but learn something from it. You never forget.
Yeah, and the worst shot of your life could get you into, could trigger something else and stuff like that. So this is what the expectation kills. The expectation kills that spontaneity, because we are trying to limit something. And then, of course, it's a form of control. And every time you start kicking in with control, you're already limiting the possibilities. Because you might want to win that tournament, but actually part of you figuring out your purpose is actually you losing it.
Exactly.
Because exactly what you're learning from that is going to open up a possibility to you that you would have never considered, that type of stuff. So talking about purpose, what have the other guys got about purpose? What does purpose mean to you?
Well, I could come in here. One of my purposes in life is I've had enjoyment, a lifetime in the world of rugby. And Julie, we went to the Harlequins game a few years ago.
Really good.
With a few of my mates, we had a great time, a few beers and a few hamburgers and all the rest, etc. And I've had so much enjoyment, the people I've met through rugby. That's why I'm involved in the London Scottish Rugby Club. And I've been on the board for the last 12 years, and we're last 10 years, most of that time being fully professional side. And because I enjoyed the world of rugby so much, that's why I've done 12 years on the board, because it's helping youngsters coming through and others enjoy the game. So that is one of my purposes in life, and I think that will be always one of my purposes.
Rugby is amazing. If you ever want to see grown, burly men act like children, just hang around rugby. It's brilliant. My wife was a rugby player.
Right.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Anyone else got some? Thank you, Norman. Anyone else got some ideas on their soul purpose?
If I may, I mean, it's a little bit airy fairy. Would that be all right with you guys?
Oh yeah, fairy is always good.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was a time, it would have been around about 2014, where the dream world became very, very real. I don't know if you guys experienced that, but we kind of slept together as a family in a nest. We called it our nest, me and my wife and the little bubbers. And there was one night where I had dreams like I've never had before in my life, and it was in the future, after the awakening, and it was the idea that Andrew talks about, multiple consciousnesses, when you can project yourself into other realities and dream worlds and things like this. And I experienced what it was like to go from one into the other into the other. And then I heard my wife wake me up. She was calling me, and I woke up, and I was on a boat going down this river, and we're in a beautiful place, and I think it was like the inner earth or something like that, but it was beautiful. I don't talk about this to many people, but we got out, and I was singing in light language, and everywhere I went I was singing in light language. And I woke up the next morning, and all the babies, we all woke up and we all remembered the dream. We were able to sit there and discuss what we'd done, and all of us had done it and remembered it, and were able to discuss it, and we've all remembered it ever since. It was beautiful.
Wow.
And from that moment, the light language for me became something just I was obsessed with, and singing in light language. And I know from my heart, because I have spoke to Andrew as well. I haven't had a proper session with him that I've paid for yet, but I've had access to him a few times, and so I've had a little bit of a cheat. And he did say to me that, I said to him, it felt like it was my work, and he said, yeah, it was your work. And it seems there's times when I go out and about, and I start to sing and prompt you in light language, and the wind starts to go up, and everything, the energy starts to create, and I just feel that that's my purpose. And I know it in my heart, just because of that dream and because of the things that happened to me.
Beautiful. Beautiful, Matty.
It's to do with ancestral songs, to healing to the land. I don't really understand it at all at the moment, and I'm not able to translate the light language all of the time, although some of it I can. But that definitely, I feel in my heart that is my purpose.
So that's the thing what Laura said earlier on, like passion. Anything that feels really good, that feels light, where you feel passionate, where you feel motivated without procrastination, where you feel committed, where you can't get enough of it to a certain extent. All of that is guiding you towards this purpose, And the best thing to do is forget about wanting to know your purpose. It's not just that one thing. It's really looking at purpose and mission, and looking at male and female, and looking at contrast and polarity and duality, and how can you bring those two sides, those two spheres together again to become one. That's the purpose. And that can be anything, like Laura said earlier on. It could be playing golf for the rest of your life, like Clive says,
Can, and it's that, and if you have a vision of what it is that you want, then you just bridge that gap by your actions, don't you? It's that simple. That's how you live your purpose. If you're not doing things that excite you, if you're not doing the things that bring you joy, you're not living to your purpose.
Yeah.
Do you think part of our purpose is to go through the contracts as well that we come in with, to go through these levels? That's got to all be incorporated. 100%. Yeah, so although we're saying, yes, get in divine flow, reach for the joy and the passion, there are going to be times on that journey of our purpose where we are going to get some pretty tough lessons. But then I don't think we should be saying, I must be on the wrong journey. I can't be on my purpose.
No, these are your guiding moments where oh, I'm out of equilibrium here. I'm out of the flow. I'm out of the dance. And these are also the very important moments in your life that show you the difference between being in the moment and being out of the moment, being in the joy and being out of the joy. So it's really a matter of what we all know is self-mastery, self-healing and self-nurturing. These are the tools for purpose, for being on purpose and mission together. Now, the question is, you know, what more can we do? What more can we do today to facilitate that and to look at that? You know, so from our perspective, yes, self-mastery and all of that, these are big words, but what did that look like for me in the very beginning, or for Laura, or for you guys? What work are you doing in order to get there? Just to start off with something, I mean, I used to do, after my Bowen, after the physical therapy that I started, I went down the logical route and did all the NLP. So I've become an NLP master and all that sort of stuff. And that helped me at the time a lot to look at what my purpose was and what it not was. Because when I was in the oil industry, I didn't think it was not my purpose, because I enjoyed myself there too. You know, it was only when my body started telling me through this ease that I was coming off. So this ease in the body, communication with the body, is one of the amazing tools to actually stay on purpose. Because you may be thinking you are on purpose by earning shitloads of money, but then when your body comes in and constantly reminds you through this ease, there is something not happening here. That's something.
That's so true, Martina. It's so true. And maybe it's like your purpose is to be aware of that flow and to feel when it is. You know, just because you're making money doesn't mean that you're doing the right thing, does it?
Exactly.
You know, there's certain times I've turned down money and knew it was the right thing to do. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like a constant readjustment of your views and your moral code.
It's a constant awareness, isn't it, of the things that are in your life that are nudging you to get back on track. And as we said, some people will go through life and not see those synchronicities. I mean, it does link into the synchronicities discussion we had the other week.
Yes.
Because, you know, our higher selves, other selves, and whatever we believe in, you know, our ancestors are there helping us to get on track and maybe achieve our contract, what we came in to do. I wonder where knowing, or maybe perceiving that you know your soul's purpose or journey, or your purpose or journey, becomes a limitation.
When it exceeds your expectation.
Okay.
When you follow expectations and projections, when you go into, when you're allowing yourself to be projected at, when you're going to judgment, projections, expectations, that usually throws you out of the awareness. It's the antidote to awareness. Yeah. But I wrote a sentence down, and Andrea, just one second, let me just say that, because relationship is one of the most effective ways to access consciousness, because we are always in relationship with something. Always. I'm not just talking intimate relationship. You're always in relationship with something. With time, with being a parent, being a child, being a friend, being a co-worker, romantic relationship. So that's how I started. I started looking at relationships. We just mentioned a relationship with bodies, but every single relationship that you are in is something where you can actually start looking at, okay, so what is going on here? Why am I out of equilibrium? What is the mirror? What is that relationship mirror reflecting towards me? And looking at that mirror principle, which has been invaluable for me. That's how I got started.
And you know, in the current times that we're in, Martina, it seems like everything we've been doing has been leading up to this point, because our purposes may change now. Things are not going to be the same, you know? And it seems for me like all of the things that I've been through, and I've been through some real shit, I'll be honest with you, I have been from real shit. Most of it I did to myself, you know, but oh my gosh, I was born up in Luton, and the EDL was formed in my school, English Defence League. Tommy Robinson, I actually know him, the guy, you know, and there was all this crazy warfare going on, and it was drugs and crime, and it was insane. And I look back on it now in retrospect, and I've realised that everything was leading to me to be more responsible to myself. You know, you can exist in any atmosphere as long as you have integrity. And it was that integrity that I had to learn over and over again. And everyone that's come into my life, my children, they've taught me a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then Andrew's teachings, much more. And then recently, it's all been leading up, all of the self-care, everything to this point. And it's like our purposes, maybe we don't even really understand the truth of our purposes at this time because things just can't be predicted, you know? But it is, like you say, to do the self-work and to understand that if we work on ourselves, there may become a time when that responsibility will become reflected in the outer world and we'll have a mission, a collective mission.
Can I ask a question, Steve?
Somebody ask a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Matty a question.
Sure.
Matty, when you say that you went through all of that and you had to learn integrity, and you look back at those times, in the times when you were still in the process of learning that, how do you look back on that, and how do you forgive yourself those times? How do you deal with that?
Because all through it, I was still there in the background, and I can see that and I can honor that. And the path, it wasn't all, I've done some seriously brave shit in my life. I can tell you, honestly, I could write a few books, man. And you know, the 90s were incredible, the rave scene and all the stuff that was going on and the things that I've seen, just ridiculous, you know. But I look back on it because I've learned through Andrew's teachings how to be neutral, how to be sacred neutral, how to look back and realize that that was my journey. And there are points where it comes up and I feel a memory and it may be painful. And you just send love to yourself in that moment. You know, you literally just look at it and you know who you are. And you imagine if it was somebody else, you could forgive them quite easy, you know? And it's not even difficult, really. I think the more I heal my body and the more that I practice the meditations and the teachings and learn to accept myself, and then it just become a part of it. So when I forgive myself now for anything that I do, then I look back and, well, it's a done deal. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I just wondered how one approaches that, how one
well,
looks back and thinks, well, you know, I did some stuff that I really wouldn't even contemplate now.
No, not at all.
And how do you deal with that? What is the best way of one dealing with that?
I tell you why, because what happens is when I see it now out and about, especially when I saw the English Defence League guys down there and protecting the statues, and then all of the other guys, the Black Lives Matter, and I'm looking at it, you know, and I see it from a completely neutral perspective, and I'm able to look at all of those guys and see a reflection of myself in all of them. I've been through so much different stuff that I'm able to like apply it to the world around me, and I, you know, I'm fortunate enough to be a very forgiving person, so I don't hold judgment in those around me. So the whole judgment in myself and my past would just be ridiculous.
So you take in that way. Then is the answer that you take an overview of that past self.
The man who I've been before molded the man that I am today, and right. I'm eternally grateful for him, for his bravery and his perseverance, for what he endured and what he became, and I have nothing but love for that man.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, beautifully said, Matty. I'd say it always starts with forgiveness of self.
Yeah,
and the inner healing journey is forgiveness of self. Sorry, Matty, go on.
Sorry, darling. No, I was going to say, I might just because you asked, Linda. My ceremonial fire this solstice. I've got what I want for the future. But I've realized because of my musings and the things that have been coming up that there is stuff that I need to let go of. So I actually the other day sat down and I said, what are the worst things I've ever done in my life? And I'm going to actually write them down in the recesses of my mind. And do you know what? It took me like 2 minutes because I knew every single one of them, you know, they were deeply ingrained in my heart. And so I wrote them all down. And so at my ceremonial fire, the first thing I'm going to do when I open ceremony and stuff and make the offerings, then I'm going to read out what I forgive myself for, the worst things, and just let go of them. And then afterwards, my prayers for the future. So that's one way that you can do it.
Thank you. Laura, I'm coming to your next fire.
Do your own, Linda. Do your own. The most powerful
Yes.
ones are the ones that you do on your own.
Yes, yeah, because there's, I'm probably just like most of you here, there's some things that I only want to share with the fire, and those things are going to be transmuted by the fire and then returned in inspiration and co-creation in dreams is what Andrew's always taught us, which is a beautiful expression. And fires, as Matty said, are so incredibly powerful, the shaman's first tool. But yeah, lovely question, Linda. Thank you. The inner healing work, the inner work is always the first step to anything, to knowing your purpose here, because it clears away a lot of the debris and the emotional baggage and everything that we carry with us. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Martina?
There is so much we can add to that in terms of self-healing, you know, and this is obviously every single Zoom that we do is about self-nurturing, self-mastery. So I was going to ask to look at relationships as a tool. How can we look at relationships as a tool to discover our purpose, if you wish, our mission, our equilibrium? How can we actually do that? And we can, obviously, we were just saying with the body to start off with, you know, if the body starts talking through this ease, there's something the body wants to communicate. This was part of my journey that started it, because I had a lot of physical stuff going on where the body said, you're not on your path. Because I have a capacity of being happy with most things, you know. And I think that's worse. If you're one of those people who are actually good and happy with most things, then you have a problem, because then you really have to start looking at it. Yes. And I've always been one of those. So half of my life, I didn't even question, you know, what was going on and why I created certain things. And only when after I started dealing with the body issues, then I started realizing, oh my God, now this is actually joyful. I had no idea what joy was. So it's really going backwards, but using your relationships let's start off. How do you use your relationship with your parents? How do you use it to learn about yourself, what you're actually here for?
That's a deep question.
Yeah, that is.
Okay, so let me just give you before we go into the depth of it then. I've used the mirror principle, and that's always perception is projection. That was one of the things I took from the NLP training. It's like the reflection of ourselves in others. The judgment that we have about others is very often a reflection of something in ourselves that we are not happy with, number one, so we haven't embraced it yet, or we are actually, because judgment has two sides, we talked about that before, so let's take the judgment as a positive, like saying, oh my God, this person is amazing, yeah? That means that this person is a reflection of who you are, but you haven't embraced it in yourself. You haven't really acknowledged it in yourself yet. That's why you can see it outside of yourself. Because if you wouldn't be it, you couldn't see it outside of yourself. So that's the positive way of looking at the mirror. And then you've got the other way where somebody really irks you and pisses you off and triggers you all the time. You know? And you say, what is that? What is that I'm reflecting, that I haven't really looked at yet, that he or she is showing me?
Yeah.
And once you have, and that takes a lot of honesty with yourself, a lot of commitment to yourself, a lot of staying out of judgment as such, and actually saying, okay, cool. So this bitch really triggers the shit out of me. What is that? Write it down, write down. And then look, where am I doing within myself? And don't look in the same area, okay? It could be in a completely different arena where you're doing it, but it's almost hidden.
Yeah.
Creating a limitation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course you've got 1,000 tools to change it, you know, to get rid of it, whatever.
You know, Martina,
you use.
I had a lovely interaction today where I used to have a real big problem with Christianity. I was brought up in Christianity, and I used to have a real big problem with it. I've always been a nice guy to other people, you know, and today there was a lady who come up to me and she asked me in Wilco, she says, you can't find anybody to help her. Would I be able to help her to find the things she's looking for? So I walked around for a while and got these bits, and she said she wants to know my name so she could pray for me. And then I said to her, what's your name so I can pray for you? And she said, are you a Christian? And I said, no, but I'm a man of God. And her face, you know, and I would never have had those reactions, those kind of interactions before, but that gave me so much joy. You know what I mean? Even though, you know, before I would have projected on her that, and so it's a limitation, you know. Limitation, and that today I got such a gift from it, and it doesn't matter if she's going to pray to Jesus. I'm happy. I hope Jesus blesses me, you know. Beautiful.
So this is a lovely illustration here, because there's a lady of faith, you know, showing Matty what he's got too. And this is where the interaction is so joyful. It's a completely different faith, a completely different way of, you know, so the arena, the subject matter is different, but the energy is the same, you know?
I think triggers are a great reminder to ourselves of where the inner healing is needed and what we need to look at. And
Absolutely.
To use Martina's expression recently, you've got to make sure they don't sneak in the back door, because this has happened. I'm sure it's happened to all of you. It's happened to me recently. Something I thought, all right, I've dealt with that. I'm really chilled with that. I can handle that. I'm not going to be triggered. And in a moment of unawareness, it slipped in the back door. But because I've done the work, I was then quickly able to recognize it and think, oh, no, you don't. I'm not going there. I'm chilled. I'm fine. I see it, you know, for what it is. I can take the sacred neutral point of view. I can take all the charge and polarity out of it, as Andrew would say, which is another beautiful expression, you know, which really defines how it comes to you. And you take that out of it and it just sort of, it melts away. You know,
and then you pick it up, Laura, and you put it in your bag of successes.
Yes, your sacred
frequency
bundle.
on it.
Yes, or you get a victory feather for it.
Exactly.
But yeah, these relationships, I mean, have taught me so much. And I'm sure they teach all of us. It's whether we're in awareness enough to notice, as we say, not just with our partners, but with, as Martina brought up, with ourselves, with parents, and all those in 1 degree of separation of us. Did you want to go further on the relationship one, Martina?
Well, I think the relationship is pretty much one of the biggest things to look at, you know, and obviously. How
about your parents then, Martina?
Oh, best teachers ever.
Yeah.
Me too.
When I started realizing that I had to use it that way, you know, because totally in unawareness, they were just not easy people to be with, to be honest. But when I start turning it round, and I always had a very inquisitive mind, I thought, hang on a second, you're supposed to be my parent. How does this work? Why are you being like that? And it took me a long time. But the interesting thing is, once you actually get through the self-mastery and all that healing, you get to a stage where it's almost like nothing triggers you anymore.
Yeah.
I feel, Martina, that sometimes we can be almost like karmic attributors to our parents in those moments, because I know that in my youth, my parents, they conditioned me in a certain way, and neither of them were strong enough to enact upon their opinions the way I did. You know, I scared the pants out of them. No, I don't know if you did that. I think like karmic retribution.
I did buy into it a lot in unawareness, to be honest. But there was one question I always did ask myself. I always knew that I had chosen them, and that was like so intriguing for me. I always asked myself the question, why would I have chosen this? And that always led me to look at, you know, what can I learn through this? It was always this, what can I learn through this? What can I learn through this?
And then once you forgive them, then you realize,
and you know what?
why.
Yeah.
That's easy.
at a certain level, you also get to that stage where that becomes almost an addiction to challenge, you know, because you're so in challenge all your life, not just the parents, obviously, with everything, that once you step out of that space where of challenge, it's almost like, whoa, what do we do now? And that's
there's nothing there.
Many people do not stop the challenge, and they keep creating it because it's so familiar to them, you know. So once this mirror principle is great. Once you get to a certain level where, you know, you're almost like, okay, now I'm feeling this equilibrium here, then don't go back and seek challenge through shit again. Actually say, okay, so what else is possible now, and how can I now out-create all of that and go for joy, that type of stuff.
Absolutely.
That's all part, obviously we're talking about purpose, that's all part of the purpose. That's all part, that is your purpose, to get out of discharge and polarity, to learn along that path, and to find that joy, that abundance that you're truly here for. That is the purpose. That's my purpose. I don't even care what that looks like. As long as I have that joy and that abundance, I don't care. Yes, I know I have it there's a teaching, and there's a you know, celestial mediumship that I'm, you know, playing with and learning more about. But is that my purpose? I don't know. Maybe in 2 years' time, I go and live on a farm and grow vegetables, and that's my purpose.
You're a motivator, Martina. You're a motivator.
Yeah,
that's what you're going to be.
I don't know.
Inspiration. You're an inspiration.
Motivator.
I actually don't care, and that's the lovely thing. As long as I'm happy,
That's what
doing
be
what
a
I'm
good one.
doing,
Yeah.
I'm on purpose.
Yeah.
Can I say something, Martin?
Yes,
Go on.
Andrea.
I know you've been trying to speak for a while. Go on, darling.
No, I'm okay. I'm happy to listen. I forgot
go
already
on.
I already forgot what I wanted to say earlier, because, you know, I just listened to you guys. But in addition to what Martina and all of you were saying, is that I'm reading so many books at the same time, but I remembered other books that I've read, that there's so many examples of this purpose and of this, where we are at this moment. Because I recently spoke to someone, and I said, look, what I'm doing is I'm actually enjoying the fruits of what I've learned, the fruits of what I'm learning, the fruits of what I'm creating. I'm not desperate telling people, oh, you should do this, or you should eat this, or you... No, I actually enjoying it, put them into my mouth, or read a book, or learning something. And like Martina said, just enjoying it. Lord knows what's going to happen tomorrow. And in the next 10 seconds, something else can change. So, and what happened with me for the past, so for this week, is suddenly things appeared in my life that I never expected, never in my wildest dreams. And I thought, okay, cool. And I haven't done anything else but just being in the present and enjoying it and reading. And with regards to relationships, Martina, I'm reading a book at the moment that's quite interesting. One of them, it's about animals. Another one is different. But when you walk along your way, all of you, all of us, you find these omens, okay? And also you have a totem animal, the one that is yours. And there is a really good exercise there about relationships. And if you look at who you are with at this moment in time, you know, like an animal has obviously the predator and the prey. And there was an interesting reading there, or interesting sections there. So maybe you can ask yourself, or if you want to, whether you are a predator or whether you are a prey, or what kind of relationships have you been in the past, whether you were the prey or whether you were the predator. And you don't have, we don't have to say what it is, but then it will be interesting if you really look into yourself and you're really honest with yourself, that wow, I was this, and wow, I am this now. So what is the contribution in that? What is the, you know, and what can I change? What can I heal? And as we were growing up, I'm sure not just me, but all of us, it's kind of, we are fine tuning. It's like a big orchestra, the purpose, if you will, of what is going on now. Because in another book, it was this guy waiting at the bus stop, and his purpose was to meet their friends at the tube station or the train station, but the bus didn't come, and he was so nervous. He was pissed off. He was angry. Where is the bus? Where is the bus? Where is the bus? The bus is not coming. And the guy next to him was very, very calm. And he looked at him, how come you are so calm? And then he realized that his only purpose was to be at the bus stop. So he started to be in the present moment. And as he was looking around, he started to enjoy the flowers, the land, or wherever he was, because he wouldn't have, his purpose was there. That was his purpose. That was his only purpose, to be there at the bus stop. And then he says in the book, like, the bus comes when the bus comes. That's it. Not sooner nor later. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, he just started to enjoy where he was.
That is our purpose, Andrea. That ultimately is our purpose, I believe. Just to be able to be completely happy in the now. And I do believe that it is possible to be completely blissful in each and every moment of the now.
Yeah, to experience life in this skin suit, isn't it, here on Earth?
Yes, but I think, was it Andrew yesterday? I can't remember now, because there's so many things I listened to that. I think he was saying that when we learn something, we try to straight away teach it to other people. You know, you have to learn this or that or whatever, and just enjoy the fruits of your creations, the fruits of that you learned or whatever. And if somebody chooses to do that, then they chooses to do that.
Well, I think the thing is, when you've learnt something, is one to process it and ingest it, and also through experience too. So otherwise you're just totally repeating what that person said without any inner wisdom being part of that. You're just giving information that somebody else has said, is what you're saying. But anyway, I'm getting slightly off track here. I'm looking at, Tina, did you want to say anything about the conversation?
Sure.
Everybody, you know, gets a chance to chip in.
Hi, Tina. He's hiding there in the background.
Hello. So, where I personally have been is not so much the purpose, because it never really crossed my mind what my purpose was, but I have gone through several instances where it was always the mission, like Martina was saying, that grabbed a hold of me. And what is this mission? What is my part in this? How am I experiencing this? But like I said, purpose, I laugh because when people come on to like the shows with Andrew, when he's like, don't ask me what your purpose is. and when Martina said that earlier, I was like, are they asking what their purpose is, or are they asking what their mission is? It just seems to have a different energy behind it. So that's what I've been thinking as you guys have been talking, like,
Maybe that's the purpose. Maybe the purpose is the mission.
Exactly. Okay. Let's go back. This is quite important to look at, because the purpose is the equilibrium between. The idea is the equilibrium between the purpose and the mission. Okay, with the purpose, the padre, the masculine energy of yours, because you know we have female and masculine energies, and the madre, which is the mission, if you wish, the negative, and how that fits together. Okay, and this is what we see in relationships. Relationships are showing us, especially in a romantic, intimate relationship, if you wish, where you have maybe a male and a female, let's put it like that, and actually look at that. And when I look at that, when I started working with male-female energies, oh my God, are totally out of sync. My male and female energy, my mission and my purpose was so out of sync, you know, that's why I couldn't really look at equilibrium as such. So it's really just a play on words, if you wish, purpose, mission. But what I wanted to bring in is because it is bringing them together again. That cell division, you know, that consciousness division, to get to know yourself by bringing the positive and the negative, the male and the female, the yang and the yin together again. That's the whole idea of the purpose of the mission, if you wish.
Purpose and the mission. It's beautifully explained, Martina. Beautifully
And
explained.
then one more thing that I was thinking and feeling as we were discussing was a lot of times when I'm even questioning what my purpose is, it's when I'm in dark or having a dark night of the soul or feeling depressed or feeling, you know, all those things. Because when I'm when I'm in the flow and in the vibe, I'm like, what do you mean, what's my purpose? I am my purpose. There's no purpose. It's just, it's here. Like, I'm dancing. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Beautiful. You're just doing it.
And it's about, you know, and you're right. And sometimes it's a crisis of faith, you know?
Right.
Also, being in the now, I think, is so important, because as soon as one starts to think about what's next, what's coming, what about tomorrow, what about you leave, you're not here anymore, you're not living now anymore, and therefore you've lost it. You kind of lost it somehow, because you've gone off.
If it's not inspiration, if it's not inspiration, creation and dreams, if it's anything other than that, then yeah, absolutely. And it does, and it's a day-to-day battle. That is part of our purpose. That is part of our mission, I'm sure. That crazy mind.
Go on, Martina.
I was just going to say to Linda here, we are creating the future through our actions in the now. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with sitting down and saying, okay, so what would I like to achieve in 5 years' time or something, and write a few things down so that you can get an idea of the energy, you know.
Oh, sure. But it's when you generally suddenly find yourself, hang on, I'm not here. The reason I'm pissed off is because I'm thinking, oh shit, you know, I've got to do this tomorrow, and that's coming, and you know, this is going to happen, and instead of, oh, you know, that's coming, that'll be fine, it'll be dealt with, you know. I'm here now, I'm doing this now, I'm living now. As soon as you leave that, I think then you do lose your sense of joy to a certain extent, because it's not real, you're not here anymore.
Yes, where you're going into judgment, and judgment takes you out of your body, and that takes you off your purpose, off your mission, off your track, off your.
Martina, can I jump in quickly? Linda, I don't know if you've ever done. Have you done the heart meditation from Andrew?
No.
Well, if you look for, if you sign on to his newsletter, then it's given to you free. But it's on the heart meditation. You can listen to him do it and then record it in your own voice. But what that does is that connects to the central nervous system, and you program into the bone marrow and into the central nervous system. And what that is, that monkey mind, that's the sympathetic and parasympathetic parts of the central nervous system that think that they're you, running the programs and running all of the functions. And you absolutely can take control of it. The heart meditation is an incredible way to just regain control of that part, or at least give yourself a little bit of respite to see the you know, the benefit of that.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, that's off topic, guys.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll send it to you, Linda. And I'd just like to say, Datina, I really do like that perspective of you're doing your mission anyway, or you're doing your purpose, whatever you want to call it, the balance of both. And you only really question it when things are not maybe going your way, when you're coming up with some sort of problem or out of balance, out of kilter.
Exactly.
I very much like that perspective. I think that's a very a good way of looking at it, so that we're not all obsessed with what is our purpose, when probably so many of us are on our purpose.
We are.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's those moments where we question our faith, and we have to find a way to regain our faith. Even though we'll always find a way to talk ourselves out of what's going on. And when you can regain that faith, that's when the mystical really happens. That's when you realize this is my purpose. It is all about that process. Faith.
Yeah, very much so. Jill, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, it's a tricky one for me because I've been thinking about it and I don't really know. I don't have like a huge, big purpose, but what I find is that I'll meet people in random places and just impart like one small little nugget of information, and I can just see that they're so much happier. So yeah, so for me, it's about sort of randomness and spontaneousness and just meeting people and it might just even be a minute. So is that my purpose? Like that's just happened to me so many different times.
You're following the synchronicities, Jill, and then
Yeah.
that's what leads you to your.
Yeah, but like the number of times I've just bumped into somebody just at the right time, and either they gave me some information or I give them some information. But each interaction is just so small.
You should write them down.
I should. You know what? My old boss used to laugh at me, and he goes, "Oh my God, every day you've got a story to tell me on route to work." But so nothing is like a big thing. Everything was just really small. So. Yeah. What's my purpose? I'm going to have to sort of
to add up all of the small things to see that they're big things.
Yeah.
So I would look at the information that you are exchanging. Look at, as you write it down, what type of information are you exchanging? And then in what arena does that fall into? Is it metaphysical? Is it healing? Is it career orientated, family or something? That brings us a little bit into the values. Okay, I've done a lot of work in the early days with people who were seeking their purpose. I was doing value work with them. Now there's a question, I've written it down, and you can just write that, you know, if you give yourself that wheel of life, Google something, relationship, family, money, what else, personal growth, spirituality, whatever. And then you ask yourself that question. You say, what is important to me about relationship? Yeah. And then write all the values down. What is important about relationship? And then you go through all the different areas. What is important to me about family? Write it down, write it down. So what we're doing is we need to, you know, work backwards almost, because you've come in, you are the whole package already. You just got to really start distilling down the essence of who you truly are. And what is it that is joy for you? So as you do that value work and ask that question, you know, what is important to me? And in the context of, let's say, for instance, you know, what is important to me with regards to relationships? Doing things together. What do we call that? Companionship. Okay. And then in the context of companionship, what is important to me? And really getting some ideas about, because we're doing so many things in unawareness. It's almost like becoming that little forensic, you know, person, whatever these people are called, and find out what is it that makes you tick, that brings you joy. Now there's another thing. Yeah, go.
Be a detective.
Be a detective for yourself, from a place of interest, from a place of curiosity. So this is.
Do you know what my guides? Do you know what my guides and that say to me when I ask them what I'm supposed to be doing? They say, everything you need is within you. Keep going. That's it. Over and
That's
over
what
again.
I love about them. They never give it to you on a plate. Just like Andrew said,
no,
you know,
nothing.
Find out yourself. That's your purpose and mission, to find out yourself.
Yeah.
There's so many tools to do that, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I say something, Martina? In addition to what you're saying, as you're saying about the values. When I was doing my coaching diploma, there's a license tool that we can use that the lady developed, and whoever is on this call, the people who are here today, participants, I'm happy to do it for you, offer it for you if you want to do it with me. It's about the essence values. It's a very, very powerful tool. A lot of people can't do it because the questions are repetitive, but it goes so deep, it really reaches inside, and it will bring out what is the most important for you at this moment in time, at this present moment.
Yeah.
And what happening with that is, let's say you have 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what I do normally with my clients is do that exercise, and in the month or 3 months time, we do it again, and it will be totally different.
Exactly.
But this exercise goes so deep, and a lot of people, when we were actually practicing it on the class many, many years ago, they got pissed off because they didn't want to look. You know, when we're talking about the purpose and the mission, they didn't want to look. And obviously it's not enough. Okay, I can do the exercise with you, then you will know what it is, and then you got to do something about it.
Yeah, yeah. So value work, and you heard what Andrea just said, huh? She's offering out a session if anybody wants to contact her on the call. Did you just say that?
The people who are on here live now.
Yes, yes.
The people on this thing.
Yes.
It's like it's not going to take you long, because what I'm doing is I'm going to ask you questions. I'm going to have the sheets. I fill it in, and at the end I'll send you the result. So we don't have to, you know, it's not like a long thing. But if you really want to find out, it's about the essence values.
Oh, thank you. That's a lovely offer.
Sorry, I've missed the purpose of I've missed some of that. I didn't quite
hear it. So
hear
it's about the essence values. For example.
About essence values.
Essence. E-S-S-E-N-C-E. Essence.
Okay. Okay. Right.
So the essence values that are intangible. Okay. Hence, it goes very, very deep because people don't want to look at it, which is okay. It's not right. It's not wrong. But you know, and it will. The result will be that what is most important for you right now. That doesn't mean what if it's on the 8th place is not important. It's just not as important as the first one.
Right, and it doesn't necessarily make it your journey either, does it? It doesn't necessarily make it your purpose. For example, it's what's important to them at that moment in time when they do get.
It is about the present moment. Yeah, that's the idea of the essence value.
Okay.
So let's say if something comes up at the first, okay, then normally for people what comes up the first is that the most they ignore. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they have to look at it even should they choose to. Okay. They don't have to.
Right. So it's getting people to face some of their core issues.
It goes very deep because the questions are repetitive, and we all know the answers. Like Martina was saying, we all already know the answers because I was reading something which I will reveal this later, but Martina was speaking about something a few weeks ago, and then I was reading something on Sunday, and I realized that the two are the same thing. And then I realized that back whenever it was, I'm like, wow, this is incredible. So it's like you don't purposely find your purpose, but it just everything like it's an orchestra finds itself and tunes itself into that energy, into that frequency or harmony or vibration or however you wish to call it.
Yeah, absolutely. It just shows how synchronicities, as we were talking about the other week, are so intertwined in our life and our journey. Thanks, Andrea. Liz, are you there? Did you want to contribute anything? Anything you wanted to ask or say? I don't think Liz is there.
She's got her mute on, I think, Laura.
I'd like to ask a question to everyone.
Go on.
Has anybody had a visceral reaction in their life when they realised that something was a part of their journey? Have you ever felt an energy so strong when you're doing something you just know?
Yeah.
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 Give me an example.
Oh,
I'll give you one, shall I?
Go on.
So before I was even spiritually aware, I was sat at a bar with my wife. We went to a wedding with my wife, and I'd only been with her a few months. And we stood at this bar, and there's this energy that just took over us, and the whole bar dissolved, and we were there, and we had no idea what was going on. And it was one of those moments that I look back on, and I knew that I'd met someone that on my journey was the right move. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's certain times in my life where I've had things that happen where you just know that that was properly part of my purpose, that you've done the right
that
thing.
aren't synchronicity. And that's an
you must have
interesting
some of
one.
those big ones.
Yeah, I've been to, when I go to places my ancestors lived, which is a big thing, DNA ancestors I'm talking about, and the walking where they've walked, and I found properties they've lived in from like the earliest I think was the 16th century, and it was still, the house was still called after their surname. Because people used to name their properties then after their name. So it was Wellsteads, and I discovered it, I say quite by accident. There was synchronicity involved, I'm sure, because we were on our way driving home from a holiday and decided we wanted something to eat and drove into a village. And I thought, oh, I've had ancestors live here at one time, and they were called Wellstead. And the first house we passed in the village was a beautiful old medieval place called Wellsteads. Wow. And that again, I suppose, yes, it's synchronicity, but the energies I felt then, I flew home, and every time I visit anywhere where my ancestors have lived, DNA ancestors, I'm on a high, and I'm driving home, and it's like the car is off the ground. I get the most beautiful energies, because part of my purpose and mission is very much ancestral connection, which was something I realised even before I spoke to Andrew, and he confirmed, yes, you're an ancestral medium. I didn't know what words to use in those days, but I felt so incredibly connected to my ancestors and such love for them that I wanted to go to these places, and just to go. And I think as to close the portals, he said, and part of that is so their energy doesn't leak out, it leaks forward to me. It's just part of it that I understood. But yes, Matty, some beautiful experiences like that.
So let me say something here. This is a perfect example of when you can tell when she talks, when Laura talks about it, she just lights up, doesn't she? It's like being an ancestral medium is obviously part of your purpose, Laura. Now my question would be, how do you monetize that? Because the idea of once you know what brings you joy, once you know your purpose and your mission, the question is, how can you make this your job? How can you make this your abundance? How can you create with that?
Yeah, I like that one, Martina. Yes.
I mean, babes, you need to go out there. This is what, I always see that with you. Ancestral media is stuff out there. This is one side of you that you could totally monetize and be happy with and contribute to people, because we have to have an exchange of what we're doing. It's totally part of that. Yeah.
Well, I wonder how many people are watching this in the future when we're all like chinged up.
Yeah, and we're going to actually put you on the spot here, because what can you be and do? What is your first step along those lines in order to get yourself out there as the ancestral medium?
Yes. Yeah, what can I do?
Exactly.
Okay, yes, hold on. Yeah, let's get an answer out of me.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, well, show other people how to do that. But the thing is that you do it naturally. I was doing my family tree, before I spoke to Andrew and found this out. I was, I had.
I'm getting for you to just do it for people.
Yeah.
Like being, you know, I don't know if you ever heard of the house whisperer. He goes and he does consultations with people and just sorts it all out. And I see you just like that.
Yes. Yes. Thanks, Martina.
Absolutely. You know, I've been doing this for some years now. I do house clearings, all kinds of different things, and I've never really done it as a business. I make pretty good money anyway, but you know, the idea of making money out of it, I think for me, I see it as I've got to just keep at it until such a point as I master it to a point where then value is seen. Obviously, there comes a point where I have to actually create a product, but right now, I think it's more of a case of like mastering the craft.
Well, you know, you got to let go of that belief system, because this is what actually we're using as an excuse of not being and doing it right now. Because when you go into mastery, when will you ever be the master of it all? And what doing it and jumping right into it is what brings you to mastery.
I agree that there is no end to mastery.
Yeah,
it's just a process where you
purpose mission question for me is once you know what that is, that brings you joy and makes you happy, then it's the job is no longer a job. The work is no longer, it becomes your way of contribution. I don't even want to call it passion anymore, because it's beyond passion. Okay. Yeah. Passion still has a bit of a control issue and ego value in it. It's me. I am an ancestral medium. I'm Laura, the ancestral medium.
Yeah.
With that.
And there's this strange part of us that, you know, with all of these things that we go through and the mastery that we go through, I use that word again because we're all doing it. It's all mastery. What we're doing is mastery. And you know, it has value. It does have value. But for me, that's been a really hard line to cross. If that makes sense.
Okay, so well, that's just the perfectionist in you. You know, that's
I'm sure.
Should just get rid of the perfectionist and job done. You know what I mean? Look at where you have that need to be a perfectionist. You know, because that takes you off your purpose and your mission. Because that's just the illusion, the lie that you've been buying, that you have to be perfect. Yeah, but you see, there's another question. Think of that, guys. When let's say you are crashing in a plane on an island, okay? And obviously you are there for quite a few months, so time disappears, money is not an issue anymore. So all these things that we have in this global narrative are gone. What is it? What are the gifts that you would trade with someone else? There's no money. So you would, what is it? What is your contribution? You're on this island. What are you good at? Think of it, that you will contribute and then can trade with others. That's such a good question to find out. Do you guys have any ideas? What comes up?
What would you trade, Martina? What would you trade?
What would I trade? Talk shit, probably. Tell everyone who goes. Like, I would probably motivate and inspire people to do exactly that. Okay, guys, you know, who is down in the dumps here? Okay, how can we coordinate this all? I'd be coordinating everything.
You've been watching far too many episodes of Lost.
I was just going to say that.
You know, this is actually such a good thing to look at.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, especially if you do watch Lost, which character are you? Or how many characters have you been throughout your lifetime? And who are you in the end? It was very interesting who I turned into in the end. I never even thought of it in the very beginning. So Lost is a series for anyone who doesn't know, and it's you've got to seriously binge into it. It's 6 series. It's got, I don't know, 20 bloody episodes, everyone, for 40 minutes. Commit to it. But you learn so much, or I've learned so much through the interaction, through the relationships, everything what we are talking about today. Purpose, mission, how these people interacted, what they got out of it, what they learned, what they let go of, you know, brilliant.
But that's exactly what's going on now, Martina. I spoke to someone yesterday, and we were talking about what we learned during this time, what we realized about ourselves. And this person, he was telling me that he realized that money is not important for him any longer. He realized that he's just enjoying his life. He's going to stay in the moment. And there are a lot of things that were important to him before. They are totally irrelevant, like shopping, like, you know, all these things that's happening now. He's just staying in his bubble, his moment, and he's just enjoying his life. And
it's called choice. Everything becomes a choice.
Exactly. I was just going to say that when you were talking earlier, that, you know, how to monetize this, monetize that. I'm listening to something, with Andrew, one of the conversations with Andrew, and it's very, very interesting. And the reason I find it interesting was I started to transcribe it. I'll probably finish it next week because it's like forever. But it's very interesting when he talks about the money at the beginning, that it's really not important. I mean, it's important, but in a way it's not our main purpose, which is what I said.
It becomes
earlier.
important if you don't have it though, Andrea.
But remember what I was saying earlier, that I started to change a lot of stuff in our home. A lot of energy changed and became more in balance. Like Martina was saying, the female and the male. And suddenly things started to happen that I never thought. And it's like, what if you ask yourself a question, a very good question? How can I become totally financially independent, not depending on clients, not depending on my husband, not depending on anything? This question goes very, very deep, because when you become it or become that, or not even that, when you become the energy of that, suddenly, if Martin was saying, money will come to you. I can't really explain how this works, or the energy, or the science bit of it. But when you become the energy of your ask, or of your being, or of your purpose, or of your mission, things start to appear in your life without you trying to figure it out. And this question I learned in one of the classes is, how can I become totally financially independent, not depending on my husband, not depending on clients, not depending on anyone, not depending on anything in this world. So don't try to answer it, just become the energy of this. And this is one of the questions I often listen to, including other bits. And yes, Laura, I mean, she's amazing what she's doing. Martina is amazing what she's doing. Did you see her drawings? I mean, that's incredible. And yeah, and Matt and Mary and all of you guys, we all have it within us. And what I asked myself when Martina was talking, because I'm a silent worker, I always, you know, look into myself, that, okay, so what is it that is stopping us? Is us. And they are very like, you know, your hair, even just like your hair, these energies are there, we can't see, or we don't want to see. But when we're willing to face it, they just dissipate, they just dissolve, they disappear. And then we can step into that level more further and further and further and further. And one of the things Andrew said to me at the sessions, that with regards to what Martin is saying, that become the energy, not even, but project it, or I don't know how he said it, the word, to your future self, you know. And if you want, you know, sometimes we need guidance, sometimes we need help, but
yeah, so thanks for that. Yeah, Laura, do you want to talk about future treatments, or what else you got on your thing, like connecting to the guides and ancestors or something? I don't know what you got there.
Yeah, related to finding your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always useful to. I mean, you can start with meditation, and then yes, you can ask them, and that's where the synchronicities come in, as they have for me. Involve your guides, guardians, angels, whatever it is you believe in. I mean, I think they're always ready and willing to help you to hone your soul's purpose. Even more than that, I was just wondering how much emphasis we're putting on knowing our purpose, and I'm wondering how really valid it is. I like that. I like the mission and purpose combined very much. That actually makes it a lot more balanced for me now. I'd never considered the mission aspect that both you and Datina have brought up.
And it also comes back to language, doesn't it, Laura, with that? Because, you know, if you can see, you know, Martina broke it down into mission and purpose. But then if you only see it as mission, because that's what comes up as one lives now, and it can change in a day. Your mission can become something else, depending on whether it's a long-term thing or a short-term thing, or if it's a path that you enjoy being on, and you take the little lanes and keep coming back to the path. In a way, that's all mission. So yeah, I was thinking that, do we really need to really analyze the thing about what your purpose is if you are happy with the missions that you're on all the time?
Yeah. So it's totally back to Tina's point that she only ever asks when it doesn't feel right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, we are not always happy.
Yeah.
We're always in equilibrium. That's the whole purpose. So what I want to say to this mission and purpose, why dividing it is such, what helped me a lot was, because I look at the purpose as the padre, the masculine, and you look at it from a male and female perspective. Okay, and then it's useful to look at what is actually the male side of the body. So the left side of the brain is male, the right side of the brain is female. Now, and we can do a zoom on that, because what I did actually, in order to work with that in more detail, I had to figure out, what does it actually mean? What is a left-brained person doing, and what is a right-brained person doing? So what does female right brain and male left brain mean? And then how does that apply to me? And then I realized, yes, okay, I've chosen a female body, but I was hugely male orientated. So very much on the left side of the brain, you know? And then over time, as I started realizing, you know, I realized that even that was not correct, because as I started clearing all I had done, I had completely diminished my female thinking, the way female thinking, because there's a difference. There's a difference between male and female. So what's the difference? What's the male, the logical mind within ourselves? And you can take it outside of yourself again. Look at the men in your life, look at the female in your life, if you don't want to do it from within, and look at that. So what is a left brain, a male brain, compared to a female brain?
So why is it, why do you pair the logic with the male?
Because that's what it is. That's what the teaching is. The concept is that the masculine is related to the left side of the brain, okay? And then the feminine is related to the right side of the brain. And then strands are actually, anatomically, the strands are changing. And then you got the left side of the body becomes female and the right side of the body is male. So this was an exploration I did, obviously, through all my work I've done as a therapist. Now, when you start looking into that a little bit, then purpose and mission make sense again, because
That's really interesting, really interesting.
yeah, so
Because I was looking at what you just said, and I was thinking, logic, men, no, and I'm looking at that through my partner, and he's not logical at all in a lot of ways, but then he is very female, so that's really interesting.
Very creative, isn't he? Ray is very creative.
Yes,
exactly. So you got the female energy. The mission is very much the creativity, having the idea. Okay, what are we going to do? You know, la, la, la. And then the male is the purpose that comes in with, okay, let's do it. Here's the plan.
We've bloody swapped.
And Linda, this is part of, trust me, I have had the men in my life, they looked like men, most of them, but they were completely stronger on the female side. And why did I attract a man like that in the beginning?
Because you didn't have that strength.
Because my female, I was by far too masculine.
Yeah, I can see that. That's fantastic.
No, you can't see that. Don't say that, because I've changed that now.
No. I mean, I can see what you're saying. It's
But the male and female exists in everything.
Martina, thank you.
I know.
Everything is male and female. Everything has an aspect of male and an aspect of female. You see, you mustn't look at somebody and say they're a male, therefore they're a male. I've actually heard Andrew say that one of our purposes, or purpose, is to become 50-50.
50-50.
Yeah, absolutely.
Balance, equilibrium. So you've got to look at that. And that's taken me years to look at that. I mean, this is something you just fucking figure out. So, okay, that's it. No, there are so many facets to it. And only when I realized that, I thought, okay, because I used to go into networkings and all the female were scared of me. They wouldn't even talk to me. I'm like, what? I'm not here. And all the guys, yeah. I've always been in the oil industry with the guys and everything, you know. Yes, it maybe was fun to a certain extent, but it actually did not help me to become the true me, to get on, because, you know, it was taking me out of balance all the time. It was attracting the wrong people into my life because I want guys to come in and be the doers. But I'm doing by far too much myself.
And the way to get the balance, isn't it, is so you bring creativity to your analytical mind.
Exactly.
And
or just get rid of the demasculinization or the over-masculinization or the under this and under that, and all of a sudden you are there. Purpose and mission. Joy. Purpose and joy.
Balance,
So anyone who wants to look at that, male, female, right, left, fabulous. So much out there. And we can do a Zoom on that too, because we can talk about this.
Yeah, that would be a great Zoom. And I just want to, thanks for that, Martina, I just want to bring in a really big thing I missed about the ancestors and our mission and purpose. I'm always going to use those two words together, thanks to Martina and to Tina now, is when you reach a certain level of awareness, then you're carrying the responsibility of your future generations and your past generations. And that is a big thing with me, with the ancestors. I recognize I carry that mantle of responsibility. Therefore, I need to do the ceremonies, because a very big part I know of my soul's mission and my mission now, this I am presence now, is to give them the healing, both DNA, lineage and soul family. So I recognize on my journey that all the time I heal myself, all the time I deal with all the triggers we've been talking about, the balancing, yin and yang, that I am sending forward that healing, sending it to the past. And that's a responsibility I carry. And I recognize that in my awareness of my purpose and mission. So I just think that is a really big chunk of the ancestors' teaching. important on your
that's beautiful. That's so important, because we're talking about once you are in your purpose and your mission and you're in your equilibrium, yes, there's joy. Yes, that's number one. Then you say, how can you monetize that? Because you have responsibilities, and the next thing is then the next level, that's what Laura just said, is the responsibility that comes with a level of awareness of your purpose and your mission. That's the commitment to yourself and to the contribution that you are when you're coming into this lifetime.
So I've just answered the question. Sorry.
No, perfect. No, you brought it. Perfect.
And then you can be a badass magician.
Yeah.
Bring whatever you want in.
Yes, yeah. But I just answered my own question I asked earlier about what really is the validity of your purpose and mission. Why do we need to know? Why is it required? For me, that. So I know. Yes. So I know, I have that inner knowingness that I am doing something of value. I'm making my contribution in service to light. My purpose and mission keeps me on track for that.
The blueprint of the fetus. The blueprint of the fetus.
Absolutely, that's where you go back to, isn't it? That, as I said in my my opening prayer invocation, that's where you go to get your greatest connection, and that's where it was. You came in with that contract, didn't you, to do that? And it's an uncovering, it's a discovery of that, isn't it?
Well, and it is a lot of commitment and work. Self-mastery, sovereignty, nurturing, and all of that, to be able to speak from a place of that commitment, okay? Because that is a level that once you figured all this left, right business and the values and everything, it's no point to talk on that level of commitment when you haven't even figured out yet what it is that makes you tick, that brings you joy, because that joy is that what guides you into that commitment. Because if you realize, we have joy all the time, this is fun, la la la, but if that continuous joy that guides you, it's almost like a light guiding you into that deeper depth of what your purpose and mission is, and that's when the contribution comes in. And this is then when you know what is purpose is actually, now you can then at that level you can say, what is my contribution? What is my contribution to this world, to this life, to myself? That's when it turns, when purpose and mission turns into contribution.
Yeah.
And from there, God knows what's possible from there, And then you've got to turn it back and say, okay, so this is my contribution, and how can I make money with that? Not because we're all money, but we also have to live in this life. We have to live in abundance in order to be able, because the more money, the more whatever it is, the more abundance you have in your life, the more you can allow yourself to be that contribution.
I enjoy the paper chase, Martina. I enjoy it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
No.
So this is exciting.
Yeah, it's getting out of survival that gives you then
this is the big thing when we talk about beyond. Once you know what your purpose is, your mission, your contribution, if you wish, add that one now, then how can I get out of, then you have come from survival into thrival.
Thrival, yeah.
I think you naturally flourish. If you get into that, if you get to that point, you naturally flourish. You can flourish in the environment. It depends what suits you.
Exactly.
I like to be wealthy, me personally.
Why not? Yeah. Let's all be wealthy. Yeah.
Is that your purpose and mission, Matty?
Say again.
Is that your purpose and mission?
To get wealthy? Yeah, that must be one of them, I'm sure, because I've been trying to do it my whole life. Tried and failed a couple of times.
That's the result of it.
Can I come in?
Hi, Norman. Go on.
Can I come in with one of my ancestors? And he is Robert Louis Stevenson. And I'll give you this quote. And there's a quote you will all know, but a lot of people don't know the second half of it, which is the best of it. And I've known this quote for most of my life because my grandmother, my mother's side, was a farmer's wife, And she told us that we were related to Robert Louis Stevenson, so she used to quote his poetry all the time. And his lovely quote was that to travel hopefully is a better thing than to arrive. Now, a lot of people here have heard that all the time. To travel hopefully is a better thing to arrive. But for me, the second part of the quote is the best part, because he goes on to say, and the true success is to labor. And just listening to the conversations that we've had this evening, a lot of it is you might have your journey, but it's the actual labor which is sometimes the satisfaction and joy out of that journey. I just throw that in.
Yeah, it's the input, isn't it? It's your commitment.
That's beautiful.
And so on. Thank you for bringing that up. I bet he enjoys you reading his poems, Norman. Do you do that? Do you read them out loud?
I do. Oh, I'm out. Yes.
Beautiful.
To read out loud. Yeah.
They very much like to have relevance now. I've got a great-great-grandfather who wrote poetry, not as famous as Robert Louis Stevenson, but even so, I get some wonderful synchronicities when, especially by a fire, when I read his works, because suddenly you are giving them relevance in this time-space equation, which is what a beautiful gift. Thank you.
I'll just lob in, actually, there's another lovely poem called Ithaca, by a chap called Constantine B. Capape. And basically Ithaca is a kind of mysterious island. And this is the journey towards that island. And what the poem is saying is, again, there's no kind of gold at the end of the rainbow, that what you learn is a journey, your experiences and the places you've stopped off on your life. So it's very similar to Robert Louis Stevenson's, going back to the journey.
Yeah, and they're the tools that you carry forward to your next life and the next life.
Absolutely.
The growth of the patriarchs and the growth of the matriarchs.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful.
Can I say something, Martina?
Go on, Andrea, go on.
Look at this for synchronicity from Andrew Bartis. Andrew must be psychic, huh? So I'm going to read it, okay? It's just the email he sent. Imagine, it's called Imagine. When everybody gets to follow their heart and has enough abundant resources to have a roof over their head so that they can thrive and more than just survive during the high points of their life, where they can thrive, you then have people of high creativity that can take their internal non-physical energy and learn to manifest it as physical energy. That's taking dream knowledge and wisdom and then coming up with a scientific process or a spiritual process that manifests energy. Whether you are healing a person of cancer or making a quantum energy machine, it's still manifestation. In higher states of consciousness, healers are able to heal people just through thought. That's taking dream knowledge and wisdom and then coming up with a scientific process or a spiritual process that manifests energy. Andrew Bartis. There you go.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Well, maybe we ought to finish on that note, unless anybody else. Martina, is there anybody on that I can't see? Because I've only got 9 screens. I can't see beyond that. Is there anybody?
We got Liz and Dikina, Andrea, Matty. No, we will have 9 people today. So it's only Liz, Julie, Linda, you see, yeah?
Thank you. Liz, are you there?
We've spoken to all of them.
Yeah, okay. Is there anything anybody else wants to bring up, add, contribute? Okay.
No? Good.
I've got to shoot off, the kids are knocking on the door.
Okay. Thank you, Matty, for coming.
Okay, guys.
Cheers, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you,
Bye-bye, guys.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Thanks, Matty. Thanks, Martina.
Guys, bye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye all. Thanks very much.